At the party in the evening, my girlfriend peeled shrimps for her white moonlight, who had just returned to China in front of me. I'm sorry, Brother Boda, don't be angry. Are you Wyan has always been so considerate. I raised my eyebrows, turned around and tidied her sister's hair in front of her, and finally helped her sister wipe the corner of her mouth. Since you are so virtuous, I will try to be a gentleman. Liu are you why and peeled shrimps for Ito Makoto in front of me. Ito Makoto smiled and said thank you. Everyone else at the table silently observed my reaction. Before I could say anything, his white moonlight spoke first. I'm sorry, Brother Boda. Don't be angry. Are you why and has always been so considerate? Is that right? But you are you why and has never peeled shrimps for me. In the past, when I asked him if he could help me peel shrimps, he would only frown and refuse without hesitation, and there was even a hint of blame in his eyes. You know I don't like the taste of shrimps. This sentence silenced me. But at this time, he, who was usually precious and arrogant, was patiently peeling shrimps for Ito Makoto. Looking at his eyebrows and eyes that are similar to mine, what else is there to not understand? Liu Yuan frowned when she heard this. Ach-ein doesn't know how to peel shrimps, don't make trouble. Itamakoto hooked his lips at me, where Liu Yuan couldn't see, as if he was proudly declaring his sovereignty. I raised my eyebrows and nodded slightly, as if I really thought about it seriously. Well, since you are so virtuous, I will try to be a gentleman. As soon as I finished speaking, I turned around and approached her sister Lin Yue under the gaze of everyone, stretched out my hand to help her tidy up her hair, and finally gently wiped the corners of her mouth. How can you be so careless? It's all stuck to your mouth. Yan's face instantly turned cold. Lin Yue was slightly surprised at first, but when he reacted, his face suddenly turned red, his cheeks flushed, his fingers subconsciously twirled the corners of his clothes, and he stammered in response, thank you, thank you. Liu and watched the whole process with his eyes, and even stopped peeling shrimps. His tone was faintly angry, and he read my name word by word, Jaboda. I turned around and looked at him innocently. What's wrong? Am I not gentleman enough? His fists squeaked, and his eyes looked at me coldly. Yuan's tone was threatening, vibrantly unreasonable. We will break up. This trick again. I have been chasing her for 3 years, and I have been available at her beck and call for her in the past 3 years, putting myself in the most humble position. So in the past, whether it was a quarrel or anything else, as long as he mentioned breaking up, I would eagerly go up to please him. So he was sure that I would compromise this time, but this time I didn't want to continue to please him. I sneered and said slowly, okay. Hearing this, an indescribable emotion rose in his eyes, anger, strong resentment, and disbelief. You! Before he finished speaking, Alco carefully tugged at the corner of Liu Yuan's clothes. Don't quarrel, it's all my fault. Don't break up because of me, okay? Her red eyes looked pitiful, and she met Liu Yuan's eyes full of blame and disappointment. I lowered my eyes. It has been 3 years. This is the first time I have seen her coax someone so gently, uncarefully, and that person is not me. My heart tightened subconsciously, but it was not as uncomfortable as I imagined. I think whether I'm full of joy or full of grievances, it should come to an end. I got up and left, and stopped when I reached the door, looking back with the last glimmer of hope in my heart. Unfortunately, Liu Wyan leaned over and hugged Dito Makoto in her arms and comforted him softly, without any reaction to my departure. My heart stagnated, and the last glimmer of hope was ruthlessly shattered, and I turned and left. After returning, I quickly blocked and deleted all of Yuan's contact information. Why should I hang myself on a tree, let alone a rotten tree? But what I didn't expect was that Lin Yue actually took the initiative to send me a message. Do you throw it away after use? And send a cute puppy emoticon package of crying. JPG, I apologized to her, and she sent another message. It's okay, I'm happy to help you. It's just that I have a basketball game this week. Can you come cheer for me? I specially reserved a front seat for you. Can you come? Attached with an emoticon package of looking forward to. JPG, I thought about it for a while and agreed. I don't know why, since the first time we met, Lin Yue always gave me a very familiar feeling, but after recalling for a long time, I still couldn't find any previous memories related to her. Suddenly, the mobile phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. Hello? I picked up the phone. You blocked me. Liu, are you Yan's gritted teeth came, and a gloomy face emerged in my mind. Yeah, what's wrong? Shouldn't you block him, classmate? I said with sarcasm. Can you please stop being unreasonable? What else do you want me to do? I chuckled. If I remember correctly, classmate Liu, we have broken up. Can't you be more sensible like Ah Ching? His tone was full of impatience. I was so angry that I laughed. Get lost. He hung up the phone immediately after saying that and blocked him in one go. Seeing that the basketball game was about to start, I caused a sensation in the audience as soon as I entered. The sun shone on my face, and my skin was coated with a layer of warm light. That boy is so handsome. Really, he has a great figure. I envy him. But I didn't expect Liu Yuan to be there. The sister next to you, Yuan touched her with her elbow and raised her chin towards me. Wow, are you Yuan, your boyfriend? I'm so envious. He's so handsome. He didn't deny it, walked a few steps in front of me, and questioned as soon as he opened his mouth. Why did you leave without saying a word that day? Ah Cheng has blamed himself for so long. I looked up and said, oh, unfairly. And he paused, cast his eyes on my clothes, frowned. I told you, this kind of clothes is not suitable for you. I rolled my eyes at him and turned to stare at Lin Yue. Lin Yue noticed my gaze, turned his head, and our eyes met. When she saw me, her eyes lit up instantly, and a smile was on her face, full of warmth, like a little sun that made people unable to take their eyes away. Maybe smiles are contagious. Looking at her, I couldn't help but laugh. Yuan noticed something was wrong, frowned and looked in the direction I was looking, and saw Lin Yue at a glance. His face suddenly became extremely ugly. Are you here to find Lin Yue? I asked back. You are so funny. If you are not looking for Lin Yue, could you be here to find you? He didn't say anything. When the game started, anyone with a discerning eye could see that Yan was always targeting Lin Yue intentionally or unintentionally, but Lin Yue performed with ease and was not affected at all. She bypassed a defensive player like lightning, raised the ball high with both hands, jumped up, and threw the ball into the basket accurately. Lin Yue's team soon gained the upper hand, and as the whistle sounded, the game was finally over, and the championship was undoubtedly Lin Yue's team. I paced excitedly, walked past Yuan, and handed the water to Lin Yue. Lin Yue's smiling eyes looked straight at me. She bent down slightly, put her face in front of me, showing a row of white teeth, and asked me with a little pride, how about it? Am I good? Her eyes were bright like a little XIUGOU who was looking forward to being praised. I couldn't help it and reached out and touched her head. Awesome, super awesome. Amid the noise, I saw the redness of Lin Yue's ear tips gradually spread to the roots of her ears. I smiled and blurted out, you're so cute. Lin Yue is the person who blushes most easily that I have ever seen. Then she hesitated for a moment and finally said, I like you. Can I pursue you? This straight ball caught me off guard. The breathing sound in my ears became hotter and hotter, and her eyes were full of expectation and love that could not be hidden. Although I knew that Lin Yue was Liu Yuan's sister before, we were not very familiar with each other. But I remember that every time I met Lin Yue, she would act a little embarrassed. I don't know why Lin Yue suddenly likes me, but the love in her eyes does not seem false. Yuan stood aside and said inappropriately, Jiboda, have you made enough trouble? Yuan stared at me with a dark face, holding Lin Yue's hand, suppressing her anger. How long do you want to play this ridiculous drama? I turned around only to see Yuan, who was full of coldness, and Itomekto, who looked smug behind him. Yuan gently hooked her finger at me. Come here, I can forgive you. You can also, if you want me to accompany you more, stop making trouble. There was a hint of command in the last word. Itomekto stood behind him, one hand on his waist, with contempt in his eyes, like a wife looking at a concubine who is about to enter the house. I glanced at Liu Yuan. His expression was very calm, not a bit anxious. That's right. He has always been sure of victory over me. Yuan, did I not make it clear enough? We have broken up, and I don't like you anymore. You can finally be with the person you like openly. I held Lin Yu Wei's hand beside me, and she unexpectedly did not refute. He examined me for a long time, trying to find a trace of lying on my face, but unfortunately there was none. After speaking, I subconsciously took Lin Yu Wei's hand and strode away. Well, then, suddenly I heard Lin Yu Wei speak. I slightly turned my head to look at her, and as expected, her ears were red as if they were about to bleed. She pointed to the hand I was holding, and I quickly let go, coughing twice a little unnaturally. She spoke first. That, can I pursue you? As soon as I finished speaking, I focused my eyes on her. Seeing that I was staring at her, she felt a little embarrassed. Why are you staring at me? Is there something on my face? Lin Yuwei's face was instantly flushed, and she raised her hand to wipe her face anxiously. I smiled and replied, okay. She was stunned for a moment, and when she reacted, she almost jumped up, as happy as a child. Since then, Lin Yue has sent me breakfast, snacks, and all kinds of food every day. The sisters around her couldn't stand it and said to her with regret, "No way, sister, how can you chase boys like this?" Others chase people by sending flowers in large quantities every day. Brother, you don't even see a bit of pollen. She seemed to have opened the door to a new woman. Since then, I have received several bouquets of flowers every day. My roommate looked at the pile of flowers in the dormitory and was shocked. Is he in a flower shop? Sending so many flowers every day. Lin Yue sent me a message at 11 o'clock in the middle of the night asking if I was free tomorrow. After hesitating for a while, I replied, I'm free tomorrow. She quickly replied, okay, go to bed early and don't stay up late. Good night, I was stunned. Lin Yue would send me messages every night. When she was not with me during the day, I would always receive a lot of messages on WeChat. Every time I was sick and uncomfortable, she was the first to arrive. Last time, I forgot to eat breakfast and had stomach cramps. I was so painful that I turned pale and broke out in cold sweats. When she arrived, there was no smile on her face. This was the first time I saw her angry. On the way to the hospital, I was in so much pain that my consciousness was a little fuzzy, but I vaguely felt her holding my hand and whispering, Goo, why don't you take care of your body? It was like this before, and it's like this now. From that time on, she would come to bring me breakfast every day, rain or shine, and would stare at me until I finished eating before leaving. My roommates teased me that I would be dominated by my wife in the future. This reminded me of my past self when I would send Liu Rui in many messages every day, and her reply would always be Justin. I remember one time when I had a fever and was feeling really uncomfortable, so I called you, Rui. What did she say to me? Jabota, I'm very busy now. Please don't bother me. After saying that, he hung up the phone mercilessly. Later, I learned from others that what Rui and called busy that day was to pick up Ito Makoto, who had just got off the plane. I realized that what made me completely heartbroken was never that he peeled shrimps for Ito Makoto in front of me on the day of the party. That was just the last straw that broke the camel's back. It's ridiculous to say that I have been pursuing Liu Rui for 3 whole years, and now we have broken up after just being together for half a year. He was drunk that day and suddenly appeared in front of me. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me into his arms with his drunkenness. His breath with the smell of alcohol sprayed on my neck, which made me itchy. He murmured like a dream, very softly, but I still heard it clearly. He kept calling A Ching. I enjoyed the sadness in my heart and reminded him out loud, I am Jibota, not Ito Mikoto. He looked up at my face in a daze and stared at it for a long time and only said one sentence, let's be together. He didn't say he liked me, nor did he make any promises. It wasn't like a confession, but more like an order. Although I was confused at the time, I was already overwhelmed by joy and didn't care about anything. Looking back now, it seems that everything can be explained. Someone sent a text message to my mobile phone from an unfamiliar number. Jibota, I don't agree to break up. This is not something you can decide alone. Stop it. Ah Shang returned to China alone and is an orphan. He needs me. Can you be sensible? I felt physically uncomfortable after reading it. I couldn't believe that I actually liked such a person. It turned out that being in love for so many years was not good. Otherwise, I would end up digging wild vegetables. Even if there were thousands of words in my heart, they finally converged into two words: idiot. After sending the message, there was silence for a moment on the other end, and then the message came. You were not like this before. I rolled my eyes and decisively blocked this number. Early in the morning, I saw Lin Yue carrying breakfast, standing downstairs like a piece of wood, standing quietly without saying a word. It seemed that he had been standing there for a while. I hurried downstairs, and when Lin Yue saw me, a smile broke out on her face and quickly spread across her face. I took the breakfast and asked, "Why didn't you call me to come down?" She raised her hand and scratched her head and said embarrassedly, "I was afraid that you were not awake and calling would disturb you." I was a little amused. The sunlight shone in front of me through the thin clouds, and the boy's face reflected a silver light, dazzling people's eyes. "Do you have any plans today?" she asked tentatively, and I was a little cautious. "No, what about you?" I received a message on my mobile phone. When I opened it, it was from my roommate, B.A. Huang. "Are you stupid? People asked you if you had any plans today. They just wanted to ask you out. Date. Do you understand?" The image of B.A. Huang scolding me in anger immediately emerged in my mind. I looked upstairs in confusion. I was shocked to see that, including B.A. Huang, the other three roommates were all crowded on the window, observing our situation with gossip. When I was still wondering how they heard us talking, I suddenly found that several sisters of Lin Yue were standing not far away with gossip on their faces. "Are my roommates the same across the country?" Before Lin Yue could speak, I coughed lightly, my face slightly red. "Lin Yue, let's go on a date today." After Lin Yue reacted, the smile on his face became even brighter. "Okay, come to think of it, I seem to have never been on a formal date alone. When I was with you or Yu Wang before, he always had one or two sisters around him. Later, the sisters disappeared, and the person in the middle became Ito Makoto. I have wanted to go to the amusement park with my partner for a long time, but I have never been able to go. Today, this wish can be realized." I dragged Lin Yue to the amusement park, and screams came from the roller coaster in front. I turned my head slightly and stared at Lin Yue's profile. She looked back at me with her ignorant eyes, and a little bad thought popped up in my heart. "Lin Yue, do you want to try something exciting?" Without waiting for her answer, I took her hand and went to ride the roller coaster. Maybe it was because she often blushed and was shy, which led me to think that she was timid. But after playing a few times, she was fine. She didn't even scream or get scared. Instead, I almost lost my soul. She supported me, unheld back her laughter. Next time I come to the amusement park, I must not ride the roller coaster with Lin Yue, I thought secretly. We played almost all the rides in the amusement park, and the smile seemed to be sewn on our faces. It has been a long time since I had such a good time. This made me feel unprecedented happiness and freedom. She is like a pistachio, making people happy. At noon, we randomly found a restaurant with more good reviews on the internet, and the waiter handed us the menu. After Lin Yue ordered the dishes, I was a little surprised that all she ordered were what I liked. Being held in the palm of someone's heart and valued, my heart is a little warm. "Are you YN? What's wrong with you recently?" A familiar voice came from the next table. It was Makoto Ito. "As for the RUYN he mentioned, you don't need to think about it to know who it is. It's really a narrow road for enemies." I didn't look back and pretended not to see it. Makoto Ito glanced at me from the corner of his eye and walked over with a surprised look on his face. "Boda, why are you here too?" "URUYN followed Makoto Ito and walked over with a cold face. I felt myself being locked by a burning gaze, so I asked back, "Why can't I be here? Did you book this restaurant?" He felt a little aggrieved, but this is a couple's restaurant. He glanced at Lin Yue, hinting at something. I didn't notice it when I came in, but now I see that the restaurant is full of pink balloons, and there is a couple's message wall, "Couples in Love." It is really a couple's restaurant. I smiled and hugged Lin Yue. "I came here with my girlfriend." "What? Do you have any objection? Lin Wei's ears turned red, and I felt that Liu Yuan's body was even colder. Ito Makoto muttered a few words in dissatisfaction. Didn't Boda just break up with Yuan not long ago? He found a new love so quickly. I really envy Boda. I caught a glimpse of the bracelet on Makoto's wrist, and I recognized it, the birthday gift I gave to Yuan last year. At that time, in order to buy that bracelet, I lived frugally during that period, worked several jobs a day, was exhausted every day, and lost several pounds in a row. When he received the bracelet, his eyes were a little complicated, but his tone was light. It's unnecessary. Don't buy it next time. I worked so hard, but in the end, I made wedding dresses for others. Even if I don't like it, I feel a little uncomfortable. I looked away calmly and ignored the two of them. Seeing that the situation was not right, the waiter hurried forward. Our store is having an event recently. As long as couples kiss, they can get a small gift for free. Hearing this, Ito Makoto took Liu Yuan's arm. I want that little gift. Liu Yuan frowned and shook her head. She looked up and saw me looking at a play. She clenched her fist and suddenly kissed Ito Makoto's lips. At last, Liu Yuan looked up to observe my reaction. I hugged Lin Yui's arm and teased them to pretend that they were disgusted and vomited. Liu Yuan's face instantly became very ugly. I definitely couldn't eat this meal. I took Lin Yui's arm and walked out of the restaurant. As soon as I walked out of the restaurant door, I heard a sound of angry bowls breaking inside. I slightly turned sideways and saw Yuan and clenching her fists and hitting the wall hard. After eating in another restaurant, I met Liu and Ito Makoto in the garage again. I saw the wound on Yuan's hand at a glance and sighed. It's a small world. We meet so many times in one day. Just as I was about to get in the car, Ito Makoto suddenly rushed up to block me and held up a kaikein. Boda, do you think this kaikein looks good? I caught a smug smile in his eyes, raised my eyebrows and replied, ugly as you. Lin Yue couldn't help but chuckle. Ito Makoto didn't expect me to be so direct and froze in place. To be honest, that kaikein is too ugly to look at. Ito Makoto reacted and his eyes began to turn red again. Although Yuan was still leaning over to comfort her, her face was obviously more impatient. Just as I was about to turn around and leave with Lin Yue, Liu Yuan suddenly grabbed my hand, and the strength of her had made me frown. The accident happened in an instant, and Lin Yue punched Liu Yuan in the face. Yuan didn't expect that he would really fight in public, and he took the punch, but he reacted quickly and hit back. The two of them didn't fight for long, and both of them were injured. I blocked Lin Yue behind me and pushed Yuan hard. He probably didn't expect me to push him. His stare in his face was full of disbelief and anger. You pushed me for him. I opened my arms and blocked in front of Lin Yue, like a hen protecting her chicks behind her. Why can't I? You can protect Ito Makoto. Why can't I protect Lin Yue? Liu Yuan, I know you like Ito Makoto, so I'll help you, but why can't you let me go? I'm not shameless. I can't follow you around like a licking dog all my life. Hearing this, Liu Yuan's figure swayed. Her eyes were a little complicated, and she raised her hand to pull me again. I avoided it and pulled Lin Yue away. At dusk, we walked slowly along the street. The street lights cast a dim light, stretching our shadows very long. Lin Yue asked me a lot about the grievances I had suffered from Liu Yuan before. I told her the truth that I no longer cared about those past grievances. I felt that the people around me were in a bad mood. Just when I was about to turn around and ask, I was suddenly hugged by Lin Yue from behind. I was a little confused, but I didn't struggle because Lin Yue buried his head in my collarbone, and after a while, it was a little wet. Lin Yue cried. Lin Yue hugged me, buried his head deeply, and made a muffled sound. Tell me why you made yourself so miserable before? Do you know how much I feel sorry for you? There was a hint of crying and anger in her voice. Hearing Lin Yue's voice, I felt my heart melted and raised my hand to touch her head. To be honest, it would be a lie to say that I was not panicked. After a while, Lin Yue raised her head. Her eyes were red and a little wet. She said a lot here and cried several times before and after, and she choked when she talked about the injustice I had suffered before. I know it's not appropriate to laugh at this time, but she started crying while she was talking. I couldn't help laughing while holding her, and I kept thinking, how can she be so cute? How can she cry more than me? Finally, she stopped crying, and while walking with me holding my hand, I expressed my doubts. Why you suddenly like me? She didn't answer, but only said that she would tell me later. That day, Lin Wei took me out mysteriously. When I asked her where to go, she just smiled and didn't say anything. When we arrived at the destination, I recognized at a glance that this was the orphanage where I stayed when I was a child. In fact, I am also an orphan. I vaguely remember that on my third birthday, my parents drove me to play and had a car accident on the way. When the accident happened, my mother held me tightly in her arms to protect me, and finally my parents died. Since then, I have lived with my grandmother in the countryside, but my grandmother died a few years later. The old people in the village said that I was unlucky and a jinx. I didn't have many relatives, so I was sent to an orphanage. Thinking back to the present, this place looks like it has been abandoned for a long time, and even the door is dilapidated. It opens with a slight push. Lin Wei took my hand and asked me carefully if I remembered this place. Of course I did, but I didn't understand why she brought me here and why she knew this place. Lin Wei, do you remember the little fat boy who followed you here when you were a child? I suddenly remembered that when I first came here, when I was a child, there was a little fat boy who was always bullied by other children. They deliberately snatched his things and threw his clothes into the water. I was a childless man since I was a child, so I couldn't stand it. Every time I helped him beat away the group of bullying children and asked him to call me boss and promised to protect him in the future. I still remember his eyes at that time, flashing with stars. But a few years later, he was taken away, and I was adopted a few months later. The shadows of the people in my past memories overlapped with Lin Wei. Their eyebrows and eyes were so similar that I was a little shocked. No wonder I felt familiar when I saw Lin Wei. If I didn't say it, it would be hard to associate a white, fat, and somewhat cute child with the 1.7-meter tall girl in front of me. Lin Wei took me to a wall. On the yellowed wall were carved a few childish words, which instantly brought back many memories. On the top, it was carved, "I will definitely take my little brother to conquer the world in the future." It was obvious that I wrote it. On the back, it was carved, "I will definitely conquer the world with the boss in the future." I smiled. This should be written by Lin Wei. Suddenly, Lin Wei hugged me from behind and buried her head in my neck. It's not that I like you suddenly, but I have always liked you. I realized that she was answering the question I asked before. Lin Wei and I are officially together. After Lin Wei went back, he confessed to me in public, and I agreed. Someone filmed this scene. Lin Wei is also a campus celebrity. With the operation of her sisters, the video was directly spread all over the campus. The comments were all one-sided, either praising the talented man and beautiful woman or sending blessings. Browsing the comments, there was a prominent comment that caught my attention. The content of the comment was it's really ridiculous, but the avatar was an Alaskan dog. I blocked him directly and made a confused comment. The cell phone rang. It was the sister next to Lin Wei. She told me that Lin Wei was injured while playing basketball and bled a lot. Upon hearing the news, I stood up and rushed to the school basketball court. After leaving the dormitory, there was an unexpected person standing not far away. Liu, are you in? He grabbed my wrist tightly and asked in a tone, "Are you together with Lin Wei?" I shook his hand away with force, and my wrist turned red. It hurt so much that I looked at him coldly. "So, what? Does it have anything to do with you, classmate?" He looked grim to piss me off. "Is it necessary?" I raised my eyebrows. It's ridiculous that he still thinks I'm taking revenge on him. Are you still angry about me peeling shrimp for watching that day? From now on, I won't help him peel shrimp. Please don't. I interrupted him coldly. Lin Wei is still injured and waiting for me. I don't have time to waste with you. I'm very busy. I don't care about what you said. Please don't come to me again in the future. After saying that, I turned around and rushed to the basketball court without paying attention to Liu, or Yu's face that turned pale instantly. As soon as I arrived at the basketball court, I saw Inu Wei surrounded by a group of people. She looked indifferent and had no expression, as if the person who was injured and bleeding was not her. I walked over, and Lin Yue found me in the crowd at a glance. She had a cold face just now, but she immediately became aggrieved when she saw me. She hugged me, her eyes began to moisten, and the corners of her eyes turned red. She was very aggrieved. It hurts. I raised my hand and touched her head and looked down at her injury. There was a big cut on her calf. The flesh was turned outward, and the blood was flowing nonstop. The moment I saw the wound, my heart seemed to be tugged hard, and I felt very distressed. Let's go to the hospital first. I helped her up gently. As soon as I turned around, I saw Yui and standing not far behind. He was full of anger and disbelief. I ignored it and took Lin Yue to the hospital. When the doctor was bandaging Lin Yue's wound, a strange text message came. You mean to go find Lin Yue, right? Right? It was Yui at a glance. I replied, none of your business, and blocked it. Lin Yue's wound was bandaged, and I touched her head. Why did you get yourself like this? I just saw her injured calf being wrapped around and around with bandages, and her face was distressed. On the contrary, she kept staring at my face and grinning after bandaging herself. I sighed, feeling a little helpless. What should I do if my girlfriend looked stupid? After sending Lin Yue back to school, Ito Makoto sent me a message. The last sentence was to ask me to meet at the coffee shop tomorrow. I didn't have to guess what he was going to do. Entering the coffee shop, I saw Ito Makoto at a glance. His previous fragility in front of Liu Ruyan was swept away, and he became more arrogant, looking like a completely different person. He put the bracelet in the most conspicuous place. When he saw me sitting down, he immediately started to mock me. You should know this bracelet, right? It looks familiar. I just mentioned it to Liu Ruyan, and he gave it to me the next day. You really like to pick up things that others don't want. I leaned back on the sofa and replied with a smile. In an instant, his arrogant face became distorted in front of my eyes. Ito Makoto was so angry that his hands were shaking. He stood up and splashed the coffee on the table in my face. Jobata, why don't you die? You obviously broke up, but you still seduce Liu Ruyan all day long. I tell you, Liu Ruyan only likes me. Ito Makoto stared at me viciously. I wiped the coffee off my face, stood up, quickly grabbed Ito Makoto's hair, put his head on the table, and slapped Ito Makoto hard. His face swelled up all of a sudden. I'm going to kill you, Ito Makoto screamed like a pig being slaughtered, and struggled left and right to break free from my hand. I slapped him again, and this time both sides of his face were symmetrical, and Ito Makoto's scream of slaughtering a pig became louder. The waiters were attracted by him. Seeing this, I poured another cup of coffee on the table on his face, grabbed his hair, and threw him to the ground. While Ito Makoto was still on the ground and going crazy, I left this place of trouble. After returning, Ito Makoto sent me text messages crazily, insulting and mocking, and every sentence was rude. I raised my eyebrows. This was more than a little different from his usual delicate meek appearance in front of Liu Ruyan. I wonder what Liu Ruyan's reaction would be when she saw that his usually delicate and kind white moonlight actually looked like this. Ever since Liu Ruyan knew that I was with Lin Yue, she changed her number every day to send me text messages and stood downstairs of the dormitory building I refused to leave. It was really annoying to be harassed by these two people every day. After thinking for a while, I went to the coffee shop to get the surveillance video of Ito Makoto and me, as well as the text messages from Ito Makoto that insulted me, and sent them all to Liu Ruyan. Then I sent a record of Liu Ruyan harassing me every day to Ito Makoto and wrote, "Take care of your contract. I don't like it." Since then, Liu Ruyan has harassed me less frequently, and Ito Makoto rarely sends me text messages to insult me. As expected, the two broke up. Every day they were either arguing or on the way to arguing, and they didn't have so much energy to harass me. Without the harassment of these two people, I feel a lot better. Every day, I just tease Lin Yue and I never get tired of it. It's already autumn, and the wind is a little chilly at night. It was getting late. I pulled my clothes and walked towards the dormitory. Halfway through, a dark shadow suddenly appeared beside me, and I was startled. It's me. URUY, and grabbed my hand, and the smell of alcohol poured in with his breath, which made me feel a little nauseous. I have completely separated from Ito Makoto. I was pulled hard and staggered, almost falling on him. I resisted the nausea and shook his hand away. What does it have to do with me? He clenched his fist nervously, and his tone was a little humble. I was wrong. I will never do that again. Can you give me another chance? I looked straight into his eyes without a trace of hesitation. No, don't bother me again in the future. It's really annoying. Hearing the last two words, Liu Ruyan's face turned very pale, and she wanted to say something with her lips trembling. I interrupted him. In fact, you and Tomakoto are really a good match. If possible, you should get back together and get married as soon as possible so as not to enter the market and harm others. Liu Ruyan's eyes were frighteningly red. I turned around and wanted to leave. He stretched out his hand to stop me, but was suddenly kicked and staggered, almost falling to the ground. It was Lin Yue. Seeing Lin Yue, I no longer pretended to be calm and ran over to hug her tightly. I turned and looked at Liu Yuan without any mercy. This is my last warning. Don't come to me again in the future or I will call the police. Stalking and text message harassment are really annoying. Now you come to pretend to be affectionate. Where did you go before? Liu Ruy was stunned for a long time and finally left with a lonely back. Since then, I've never seen him again in college. The text message harassment has stopped, and I rarely hear about Ruy and Undito Makoto. The last time I thought of them was at a class reunion a few years later. I heard from other people's gossip that after Ito Makoto and Liu Ayun broke up completely, you hooked up with other rich men, but this new rich man had a family, and within a few years he was beaten up in the street by his original wife and his hair was cut off. Although the rich man did divorce, in the end and Ito Makoto successfully took over, the two were not happy after marriage. Her husband cheated again not long after the marriage. Not long after that, Liu Yuan's family went bankrupt. She dropped out of school, became an alcoholic, and became an unemployed vagrant. Now it's even a problem for her to have enough food to eat. She smiled and raised her chin towards the door. Your wife is here to pick you up. It would have been fine if you had gone out to play before, but why you had to go back so early, even for a class reunion? I smiled. I can't help it. Who says I'm dominated by my wife? It was snowing outside. As soon as I reached the door, Ling Yue trotted over, put another coat on me, scratched my red nose with a smile, and walked me home holding my hand.